Hello, this is Dr. Do again. This video is outside of medicine. Continue with reading Psalm. I have two videos on Psalm 78 because Psalm 78 is really long. So today I'm going to continue with Psalm 78. Just briefly remind you what on the first two videos what was about on the Psalm 78. It was really counting the miraculous deeds that God had performed for the Jacob and his people, and also how the people respond, either lost the faith and also lost the belief and also rebellious, and each time God still forgave them and still saved them. So I'm going to continue to read. He gave their crops to the grasshopper, their produce to the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail and their sycamore figs with sleet. He gave over their cattle to the hail, their livestock to bolts of lightning. He unleashed against them his hot anger, his wrath, indignation, and hostility, a band of destroying angels. He prepared a path of his anger. He did not spare them from death, but gave them over to the plague. He struck down all the firstborn of Egypt, the first fruits of manhood in the tents of Ham. But he brought his people out like a flock. He led them like sheep through the desert. He guided them safely, so they were unafraid. But the sea engulfed their enemies. Thus he brought them to the border of his holy land, to the hill country his right hand had taken. He drove out nations before them, and allotted their lands to them as an inheritance. He settled the tribes of Israel in their homes. But they put God to the test. They rebelled against the Most High. They did not keep his statutes. Like their fathers, they were disloyal and faithless, as unreliable as a faulty bow. They angered him with their high places. They aroused his jealousy with their idols. When God heard them, he was very angry. He rejected Israel completely. He abandoned the tabernacle to Shiloh, the tent he had set up among men. He sent the ark of his might into captivity, his splendor into the hands of the enemy. So I'm going to stop here. So this is the third part of Psalm 78. It still continues to count. So if you recall the second video before this, the beginning of this video, it talked about the miraculous deed God performed in Egypt. Sent swarms, flies, and crops, so grasshoppers, and also now destroyed the vines and the hills, and also the cattle was destroyed, and the firstborn was destroyed and struck down, and also prepared the path of his anger, did not spare them from earth. So the disasters occurred in Egypt, and but he brought his people like a flock. He led them like a sheep through the desert. He guided them safely, so they were unafraid. And he struck down all the firstborn of Egypt and the fruit of manhood in the tents of Ham. If you recall Ham, I think Ham is the descendant from Noah. I think tracing back before Abraham. I think during the flood time, Noah had several sons, and Abraham was from one of the sons, and Ham probably, I did not know until now, Ham referring to the Egypt is another a descendant of Noah. So but he brought his people out like a flock and led them like a sheep through the desert. He guided them safely, so they were unafraid, but the sea engulfed their enemies. So if you recall, when Moses led his people across, approaching the Red Sea, and he called somehow the Red Sea opened, they passed through the sea, and also when the enemy getting close and the water engulfed them. Thus he brought them to the border of his holy land, so close to the promised land. To the hill country his right hand had taken, and he drove out nations before them. So before they settled down there, there were some other people, and God just drove out of the nations and settled the tribes of Israel in that home. But they put God to the test and rebelled against the Most High again. So people when they settled, they start to question, doubt, and test God again. Like their fathers, they were disloyal, faithless, and unreliable as a faulty bow. And like the bow, faulty bow means shooting the arrow to the wrong place, or wrong people, wrong direction. So like means lost the direction. And they angered him with their high places. They aroused his jealousy with their idols. And when God heard them, he was very angry. He rejected Israel completely. So this time, if you recall, when Moses went to the mountain Sinai to work on those tablets of the commandment, and when he came down the mountain, he saw the people lusting for the gold, have the idol of the golden cow, and really lost the faith, and that he was very angry, and God was very angry. He broke through that tablet and broke it. So this is probably just similar description. He abandoned the tabernacle to Shiloh, the tent he had set up among men, and he sent the ark, his mighty, into captivity, his splendor into the hands of enemies. So, and also eventually, through the generations, the ark was in the captivity of enemies, and along with the tabernacle, so they destroyed everything. So this is showing that this is showing the real part of human, the Israel people, just like everybody. Sometimes the real part, when during the time of difficult, they come to the God they believe, and pray, and God save the people along the way, help them, show the mercy. And when the situation is getting better, they forgot about God again, so there's a saying like, forgot the pain after the scar healed. So this is the whole nature of whole human being, not a special, not in just the Israelites. We all had those moments. So that's why we had a saying, the proverb said, when the scar healed, people tend to forget the pain. So it's just another way to say similar situation as this Psalm 78. So I'm going to stop here, and I hope that you can read it and interpret in your own way. Thank you for watching. I will continue next time.